And we are live.
Ooh.
Yeah, it is Fired Up Friday. I'm Rick at studioUSA. Got my man, co-captain, Wayne in the house.
There we go.
And our guest today, this is leadership dense. We're like leadership attack today. So we've got sales leader from Ebby Halliday DFW Northwest, the one, the only, Jason Bell in the house.
Hey, thank you for having me.
How you
Great
boys
to be here.
doing?
Good. Ready to go.
All right. So we got manager, leader, coach, and
We don't even know what to call you at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think.
How are you here?
I'm the product placement guy. Yes, and I will take that as a segue for today. And I got Wayne with me, dude.
Ooh.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
Magic mind.
Boop.
Okay, so this is our little nootropic shot, which I love. And so we will be, I think, 17% smarter by the time this kicks in.
Man, that's like.
Oh, wait a
that's
minute. You
lot.
didn't tell me that. Maybe I should be in on this.
They can grab you one.
That's a lot smarter.
Why not? Why not?
There we
Yeah,
go.
that's the
You should have
spirit.
just said it makes you smarter, and I would have gone for it.
That's the spirit. Well, the FDA cannot confirm nor deny that that is true.
Well, don't back off your statement now.
Then next up, we got some brain fuel. Some mushroom gummies.
Man, a lot. You are gonna. What are you?
Okay,
You
now
running for
I'm-
office today? What's happening?
I'm not, well.
I do have to go to work after this. You mentioned
Oh.
the word gummies. I'm out.
So no, these are all nootropics. So, pull the curtain back again. Often while I talk with my mouth full, I'm broadcasting 101. This is all brain fuel. So, I have been sober for 19 years, 19 and a half. So
Congrats.
these are not
Good for you.
psychoactive. I don't think. No, I'm kidding. There we go. So I won't be tripping balls or anything. I won't be seeing Aztec temples or anything. There
Yeah,
we go.
yeah.
But I'm still a fan of better living through chemistry.
Amen. I think we should use whatever we have available to us to better our lives.
Right on. I mean, we're already jacked on coffee. We're
That's
going.
it. That's
But we
it.
do have our ramblers.
Yep. Boom. There we go.
And my goal in all of this is just partly I like this stuff and I'm just being silly, but I want like one free thing.
Yes.
I just want one free thing to offset all of the time and effort.
Hey, I brought you a coffee.
That is true. Okay. Fair
There
enough.
you go. You got
Fair
your,
enough.
You got your goal for the year.
Yes. And since nothing has happened in the world this week, so
No.
yeah.
Boring
So-
week in real estate. Nothing to
yeah.
talk about. Yep.
So no worries there. So now, are we ready to consult the oracle?
Let us consult the oracle.
Okay. And if
I'm
I'm
interested to know how this works. But
okay,
It's a magical process.
yes, it is.
We've already harvested. Yeah.
Did you have a magic 8 ball when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Very similar. Very similar.
Okay, let's do it.
So today is the 22nd, correct?
Sure.
Okay. For our purposes, it is.
Amen.
Okay. So today's topic is growth.
Growth. Ooh.
Growth. And the quote is, personal growth is not a matter of learning new information, but unlearning old limits.
Ooh.
And that's from Alan Cohen, who I don't know who that is, but very profound. So this is great because we have a guy that his kind of business model is based on growing. And then your whole job description, other than when you're not co-piloting this
Absolutely.
fabulous
Yes,
disaster,
yes.
is helping other folks to grow. So, but what is the first thing that comes? So for me, the thing is like, oh, well, I don't really have a handle on that at, like 5 feet even. So like growth isn't really my,
Yeah.
isn't really my strong suit. I look way taller sitting here. So I love doing the live stream. It's
My
just-
favorite thing is when people meet me in person. They're like, "Man, you're shorter than I thought you were." And I was like, "Bro, like they lead with that when they meet me." And I'm like, I guess I look tall on the internet. So
well,
there we go.
Having never had that experience in my life, I wish I could relate to what you were saying,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
unfortunately I can't.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So what comes to mind for you guys as far as growth immediate, like just right off the top?
Man, it's a hard thing to quantify, right? To be honest, it's a lot of it's mindset. A lot of it is being open to new ideas. I think you have to tackle every day with an open mind that whatever comes at you, you can handle. Nothing is too big to overcome if you
I
have the
like
right
that.
mindset. Anything is achievable. We're all given the same opportunities in life. Just go get it, right? Buckle down. But it is mindset. I think innately, I believe humans innately just have that voice in the back of your head that tells you can't, and it's able to control and squish that voice. And if you can manage that voice, I think growth becomes limitless, really.
And I think the simple thing we've all heard is you're either growing or you're dying, which sounds nice. We've all heard the bumper sticker. Yet it is interesting that maybe one of you guys remembers the stat. Like how much we grow, up until the point of like, 19 or 20 or whatever it is, and then it like stops. Like how many, like most people don't read a book after college, ever. Like most people have not read an actual book after, right? It's insane. We do all this massive growth. You think about how much a kid learns from the age, 0 to 6 or whatever it is, and then it basically stops, 21, 22, 25, and then you just have the same experience over and over and over. So it's crazy that most people don't actually grow much.
I think, based on my own experience, it's always I didn't grow until I had to. It was a lot of either, whether it's adversity, a lot of times of my own design and my own making, but I would be painted into a corner.
Yeah.
And kind of what you said, along the lines of what you were saying, where, okay, I learn all this stuff, read, write, arithmetic, or whatever, up to a certain point, and then now I only want to focus on the stuff that I like.
Yeah.
And that usually ends in a cul-de-sac of I'm not growing on any level. And then with me personally, there were the things where like my own picadillos and my own habits ended up where, okay, now you've painted yourself into a giant corner and you are forced under duress.
Yeah.
And now in hindsight, I can look at that and say like, oh, awesome. But now, do you guys grow more in the difficult times or when, because like for me, if it's going good, I'm probably not going to change anything. I'm not going to do anything. So for you guys, what has been something that like actually spurred you on into a period where and for me, it's always hindsight, where it's like, oh, that was a period of growth, apparently,
Yeah.
So for you guys, what is it like as far as your own experience with either personal or professional, or actually I'd really like to know, like, where do those blend as far as you guys go?
Yeah. Well, and maybe if you break it down, it's like there's three kinds of people, right? People that don't grow no matter what, right? Like no matter how life is hard on them, they still never grow. Then there's people that, like you're describing, where most of our experience has been growing when we had to. And then I think that the most successful people, however you want to quantify that, are probably the people that do it before they have to. And like that's who I'm continually striving to be, not who I always am for sure, right? Like usually it's like, oh crap, it's bad enough now. Right, but what's the story about the dog laying on the nail? Right. There's have you heard the story? So this guy walks up and there's this dog that's kind of whining and sitting on a front porch and kind of whining, and a man goes like, what's wrong with your dog? And the owner goes, well, he's sitting on a nail, and the guy goes, well, why doesn't he get off? And he says, well, I guess it doesn't hurt bad enough yet. Right, but that's how, like, some of us have you and I know for sure. I don't know. Maybe you're smarter. I hope so. But like
well,
my
17% smarter.
Yeah, 17% smarter already. There you go. Boom. Right, like I have an amazing pain tolerance, I guess, which isn't actually necessarily a great thing because I can endure a massive amount of stupidity sometimes before I go and learn.
Amen.
Yeah.
Man, for me, actually, I can pinpoint the time where I feel like, I guess, growth started to happen for me, at least both personally, but more professionally, going through, I was in the insurance business for, 16, 17 years before I got into real estate. And shout out to any leadership program in any city. I did leadership Plano, class of 37, best class ever. But I might have just got that wrong now that I said that. Could have been 36. But going through that leadership program, I got to be honest, when I signed up, it was thinking, okay, I'm a realtor, I'm going to network, and that was my drive and reason to do it, was personal in the moment. But then going through it, I came out of it on the other side of, it wasn't about me. It's a bigger world, it's a bigger thing. I've been through every personality test known to man, the Myers-Briggs, the this, the that, the every single kind of thing you can do. And somehow, some way during that process, I became okay with who I was. Going through in life, I think we all, at some point in time, try to fit this mold that's expected of you, right? Like, you do this, and you do this, and you do this, and if you're interviewing for this role, this is what they want you to be. So this is how you should answer the questions to be that person. If you're, in our business, if you're trying to get this listing, you should be like this to get that type of listing. And it wasn't until I kind of completely released that and just said, you know what, this is who I am, and this is where I feel great about myself and where my strengths are, and that's okay. And people can either go with that or not, and I've gotten to the point where I don't care. It's like, this is me unapologetically. And once that, literally that switched in my brain, my entire professional career changed. You know, I was a realtor for a couple of years, then jumped into leadership and progressed through leadership. And it's just, I can definitely pinpoint that exact moment of going, hey, you know, it's okay to do things the way I want to do them, and people will respond to them or not. And it's not the right thing for everybody, but I'm okay with that, right? You know, building an office, in my case, I have a certain culture. You can fit it or not. You know, I mean, if you're a monster producer, but you don't fit my culture, then I don't have a place for you. You know, I think that comfort level to me was like this just robe taken off. And I can pinpoint that's exactly when I started to grow, is when, you almost could say when I quit giving a S.
Yeah.
But,
Yes.
but it just was, I got comfortable in my own skin. And the confidence that comes with that, I think, you know, is, it's addicting, you know, to go, hey, and freeing, very, very freeing. So for me, professionally anyway, growth started when I just said, this is it, I'm me, unapologetically, and if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, that's fine with me too.
There is something about that, basically feeling comfortable in your own skin. And my mantra, as far as like even creating content or doing the marketing or whatever, it's like when I'm working with somebody, it's like I want what's on the label to match what's in the can. So that way you're not doing this is my manufactured robot persona that I am in front of the camera, and then when somebody meets me in real life, I'm a total stranger to them, versus the flip side of that where, okay, you're creating content as you, the individual. And so then you're halfway there when somebody sees your stuff, and then they end up basically thinking like, wow, I kind of halfway know this person already. And so the thing I love about this and us being live, and there is nobody studied for the test, you know, because it's like, I do well on standardized tests. And historically that got me into more trouble because I didn't learn shit, you know. Right. It was like I literally learned how to do a Scantron, you know, like, okay, odds are, you know, or I just whatever it was, I was able to be taught to the test. And like y'all were saying, like it didn't happen as far as the growth thing until I was outside of that comfort zone, and it took a long time. So now, are y'all familiar with the mindset book, the Carol Dweck? It's either growth mindset or fixed mindset as the basic premise. And I didn't realize that I had a fixed mindset until long after that was not the case. It was like I heard that in the book, and I was like, wow. So for anybody out there, I would recommend this book highly because, again, it was something that I had to learn the hard way. And like you said earlier, I can take an ass whipping, man. I can literally get in the ring, get it handed to me, get back out and go like, I was just off that day, you know. A couple more push-ups, I think I got this, and I'll go do it again. So where do you guys think you are now on that spectrum of fixed versus growth? I would say y'all are both growth mindset guys. And I did leadership with TRLP through Metrotex, class 26. Also, ironically, the best class ever.
Right. It's
Has
funny
no
how
one
that
invited
works.
me to? No one has invited me to any kind of leadership, whatever
You
y'all are
should do
talking
it.
about. It's amazing.
You should do it. I'll make some calls.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
Class of
We'll-
73. I don't know wherever we're
wherever
at
you're
now.
at in the scan.
We'll put
It
in.
will be the best class ever.
Yeah, we'll put
Thank
in
you.
a word for you.
Thank
You
you.
can double major.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
No, I like what you said there. It made me think of, you know, Simon Sinek's stuff on infinite game and finite game, right? Huge. I love that thought process of, you know, are you just playing a finite game that's got finite rules, or are you playing an infinite game? And I feel like those that can shift their mind to play the infinite game are going to be well ahead. You know, on the growth side, I feel like I am constantly growing. This topic always, in my mind, brings up, it's not a Ted Lasso quote, it's actually a Walt Whitman quote of the be curious, not judgmental. My favorite scene of Ted Lasso of all time, you know, where he's doing the darts.
Yeah, I love the darts.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty good at this.
And so that's kind of a theme in our office is be curious, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's so much power in that simple statement of be curious. You know, we all think we know everything. And as soon as you just be curious, you listen to other people's points of view, you know, take we joked earlier about being Switzerland in situations. Just listen and learn. You know, if you think you know it all from the get-go and you're trying to win an argument, nobody wins. If you listen to the other person, if you listen to what's around you, to your point, I'm not a huge reader in books. I've figured out, I've got a subscription to SoundView. If you want to give me a free subscription, SoundView. It's basically like the Cliff Notes for every leadership book you can ever do. It's when our management team, might want to edit this out, ask us to read a book. I'm like, perfect. I got the 7-page Cliff Notes version, and I'll read it real quick.
We lost the feed right there. I'm
Yeah,
not sure
I
what
don't
he
know what
said,
happened.
but- and-
Don't know what happened. But I do love short, podcasts, TED Talks. I'm much more of that type of learner. Just sitting down and reading, to me, I lose track and my brain goes other places. But if I'm listening and watching, I love, just be curious. I mean, if society right now, overall, would just be curious, I think a lot of the world's problems could be fixed.
There's a great book called A Curious Mind. You can get the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah, to that point, so good, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Eleanor Roosevelt said, you don't have enough time to learn on your own, so you better learn from others. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have enough time to learn all on your own, so you better figure out how to collapse time and learn from others. And I mean, that's the power of coaching, right? Is like, instead of having to learn all this in 20 years, hey, we'll give it to you in an hour, some of the stuff, you know what I mean? So it's just, and back to your question on growth or fixed, I think I definitely have a growth mindset. Yeah, here's the distinction for me the last couple of years has been, going from like and there's another book called Judger versus Learner. So I had I thought I had a growth mindset, but I was in judger mode all the time. So I'd make a mistake. It's like, what's wrong with you? I can't believe you did that. You're an idiot. Work harder. Like, right? Like, I would just beat myself up, which actually, a lot of high achievers I work with, it takes them, like, that gets you going, but it only takes you so far. Because at some point, you're just like a tired, beat up, wannabe high achiever. You know what I mean? And like, you can only do so much beating the crap out of yourself. So learning the distinction between, I can have a growth mindset, but go from judger into this learner mode, which is like, okay, I screwed up, but what can I do different next time? What's the next right move? What's, right down. So for me, that's been the big distinction, is getting out of like that judger mindset, which I was really just being a victim in a tuxedo. In a lot of ways, I was just a real fancy victim because I was just beating the crap out of myself. So that was the big distinction for me. So
now I'm curious, because both of y'all are in leadership / like coaching mentor type of situation. How do you get folks past? Because it is my personal belief that all of that, like the inner critic and that sinister monologue that a lot of us have, which then turns out to be like imposter syndrome and a bunch of other stuff, that's learned behavior. You don't come off the assembly line as an infant with that in there, like, you suck, or like, you're stupid, like all of that. And it's never, or I've yet to find anybody where they came upon that voice naturally. It's always somebody else's voice. So in y'all's capacity as, essentially either management or the expert or the coaching, how do you get somebody to even to take a look at that and sort of like start to course correct?
Dude, I'm so excited about this. I'm going to give you my 2 seconds on it. Jack Canfield has a great training on Critic to Coach. So how often, like, did you ever hear your parents yell at you when you're about to run out into the streets, right? It's like, stop, what are you doing, right? And then they may have said, like, what were you thinking? What was wrong with you? Whatever it is. So think about these couple categories. And the first thing we heard was anger, right? What's wrong with you? But really, that anger came from a place of actual, like, a request, right? Like, I don't want you to run the street. Like, it was like anger, actually, the anger and then love, right? So you heard anger, but it came from a place of love. Underneath the love was actually a request, right? It's like, I love you so much, I don't want you to get hurt. The request is, I want you to look both ways before you go on the street so you don't get hurt. So if you can hear in your mind is like, what the heck's what the heck's wrong with you? Why didn't you follow your schedule? Why didn't you get up? Why didn't you call this person back? Whatever it is. Like, we hear anger, but if you can, like you said, I think it's beautiful. The power's in the pause, and the pause is, okay, this is coming from a place of love. What's the actual request? Right? Like, I love you so much that I want us to make sure we do all our follow-up calls so we can actually pay our bills and be the dad we want to be, right? So if I can trace that down, like, I heard anger, but it was actually coming from a place of love, and underneath this love is a request. So I got to figure out what's the actual request underneath that. And then if I can go from general to specific, right? Like, do better, to like, start work at this time, or do better, or like, don't suck at life. So like, okay, I need to put it in my schedule, whatever it is, right? But if I can have that request go from a general request to a specific request, then I can take an action on that and move forward. So when I hear my judger voice now, it's like, all right, thanks for reminding me. Like, I know you're coming from a place of love. You sound like a jerk, right? But I can just be like, thanks, bro. All right, appreciate the feedback, the request. Okay, we're off to the races, right? So understanding where that's coming from has been really powerful for
Like
me.
diagramming the sentence.
Yes, yeah. Like you sound angry, but really it's coming from a place of love, right? Like when I'm beating myself up, it's really coming from a place of love because I'm out of alignment with who I know I could be. Because
Right
I'm
on.
not living up to who I know I could actually be. So there's some sort of request under there. Get better at your schedule. Get better at following this. Like learn this skill, whatever. There's some sort of request, and then I can move forward.
Yeah, I completely agree. As you were talking through that, I was thinking through our coaching program, and I coach agents one-on-one as well in our offices, and I think the most successful coaching sessions are where you can just help someone kind of declutter their mind, I guess, right? I mean, like you said, it's almost, you've got to hear beyond what the words are and really try to help diagnose. I remember when I first started coaching, I had no earthly idea how to do it, what to do, what was going to be the best way to go about it, what does this agent need from me, what does this person need from me, and it was interesting. I was like, I remember the first session of 10 that we started a couple years ago. I was very much like, all right, y'all, this is not going to be a therapy session. You're coming in, you get your 45 minutes with me. You're going to sit down, and we've got this checklist of what are you doing, and it's, very high school football coach, like how many reps did you do here? And I got into the sessions, and I quickly realized that very, very few of them were going to be that. And instead of being like, hey, I don't want to hear about what's going on and let's focus on the business side, I just started to embrace it. And what I found was, sometimes someone specifically needs like, hey, how do I get better at calling on FSBOs? Or, okay, I can help you dial that in if that's one of your strategies. But more times than not, it's mindset. It's what's going on. It's diagnosing like, well, hey, why do you think you might be off? Like, you just seem off. You've admitted you're off. What's going on at home? What's going on in your life? And we've started now, like I start every coaching session with, I don't know, there's 6 or 7, like rank where you're at 1 to 10, right? On physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, business, and a couple other things that, and as a coach, it helps me right away. When they walk in, I can diagnose right away, is this better or worse than last week? What are we making progress? Hey, this jumped really high. What happened this week? Oh, I had a closing. Funny how that works. But it's interesting if you can just help clear their mind. What I found is most agents know what to do.
Yeah.
Right? They know what to do. I mean, I don't feel like there's any secret magic pill. Almost every coaching program out there relatively says some of the same stuff. It's like, you got to be a person, you got to make phone calls, you got to talk to people. Like, it's a social business. But helping them go through, and I just got to where I was okay with that. I'm like, if that's what that agent needs from me, especially in a leadership role, not an independent coach necessarily, but in an office, if that's what they need from me is 15 or 20 or 30 minutes to just talk to someone, then I found, it frees them, whatever burden that is on them, it frees them to then get back focused on what they know they should be doing.
It's like defragmenting that. The old computers had to defrag every once in a while, right? Right? And it was like, whoa, okay.
I mean,
now you're gonna work again.
and sometimes it's also just a fresh perspective. It's always, it's been so funny to me. One of the greatest coaching, I laugh about this one all the time. An agent came in and said, okay, it's first quarter. I'm always really, really busy in the first quarter. I'm slammed. But then every year I'm slammed in the first quarter, and then it slows down the rest of the year. And I said, okay, well, what do you do in the fourth quarter? Oh, dude, and she's a Buffini girl. She's like, oh, I do the blitz. I touch every client 8 times in 10 weeks, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, all right. So let me just throw this out there, right? What might it look like if you did that every quarter? It was like, what? Wait, what? Like, why didn't I think of that? Like, and sometimes coaching is just that. It's like, you've just got to just provide the clarity of like, okay, you're looking at it from the base of the forest. I'm looking at it from 30,000 feet above the trees. Let's just navigate
Two totally
this,
different
right?
perspectives.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of that too is kind of going back to like, I like what's on the label to match what's in the can. But the other side of that is you can't read the label when you live inside the can. And so that translates into just having, and now for you guys, it's a slightly more subjective point of view as far as for the folks that you work with and coach or whatever, versus a completely objective where like, oh, I'm just here to, call a spade or whatever and cut it down the middle. But how much I'm curious, because for me, there was a certain point in time where it was almost like I needed permission to color outside the lines of whatever that inner monologue was. So like, what do you think, like percentage-wise, or what's your experience with that, where it's like you're almost, like you're saying, you're looking at it from a different point of view. And at the end of the day, because like my whole thing is like, I'm sitting here hearing you guys say like, oh, these folks come in and they already know what to do. And like one of your mantras is like, what is the thing that you're not doing right now that you should be doing? But there is that whole thing of like giving people permission to almost be not okay in order to get okay.
Yeah, I think it's fun. We've never talked about this, I don't think, but I think it's ironic to use those words because I use those words exactly all the time. Give yourself permission to blank. And I didn't come up with it. It was in a book somewhere. I don't know the author. I don't know where I found it, where I heard it, or someone told it to me. But give yourself permission to blank is such a powerful place to be. Of hey, give yourself permission to put the phone down for an hour at night and have dinner with your family, right? Like I'm telling you that as your coach. Turn it off, right? Give yourself permission to go to the gym. Give yourself permission to try this. And try to open their minds up to that, because most, I know this is a real producer podcast and event, and we're talking mainly to our real producer audience, which are highly driven, highly successful, go folks, typically. And it's almost like, hey, give yourself permission to take a breath. I had that just last week in a coaching session. Agent came in and was having a fantastic first quarter, and I just said, hey, do you want to actually talk, or do you just want to put your head down on the desk for 30 minutes? Like, you need to give yourself permission to breathe and live your life. And I think it is. It's a mindset thing of freedom of like, okay, I don't have to be everything to everybody 24 hours a day. And if I can give myself permission to whatever that is for you, go to the gym for me, or whatever. It's like, I got to give myself permission to do this and not feel guilty about it. And this is my time to go do it. And I'm not gonna, this morning, somebody texted me early and I'm like, hey, seriously, it's 7:30. Like, I'll holler at you in a little while. But, it's give yourself permission to blank, I think is a powerful, powerful statement.
So what about you? You're in the permission granting business, I do believe.
Yeah. I think that it's interesting the bullshit rules that we end up living by that we didn't realize we established. Right? So it's like, oh, I can't blank until this. Or hey, to be a good, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, hey, to be a good mom, I have to sacrifice. Like, there's all these rules. So I think a lot of it's permission, but a lot of it also is just like forcing, or forcing may be the wrong word, but creating a space to allow, like you said, like we talk about the snow globe, right? Like most people live in that snow globe and it's just shooken up all the time, right? It's like I get in the car, the music comes on, I wake up, I check my phone, right? And we're just go. And it's like you're living in a blizzard and you can't see 2 feet in front of you.
Yeah, the whirlwind.
Yeah, so a lot of times, like coaching, and I mean, I would ask everybody to think about this, like, are you haphazardly reflecting or are you intentionally reflecting? And I think there's a massive difference, because I think a lot of us haphazardly reflect, which is like, last week sucked, I got to get better at life, you know what I mean? And it's like, not super useful, you know what I mean? But like intentional reflection is like, all right, what went well, what didn't go well, what would I do again, what would I not do again, right? It's actually taking a minute to give a rip about your life, right? And there's some activity, one of the activities we have is like, take 15 minutes to save you 5 hours. but it's like do intentional reflection instead of like haphazard reflection. And I think that's a huge difference, and it's one of the gifts that we give our clients. It's like, let's take a second, actually intentionally reflect so we can make some decisions moving forward.
I love it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the same. I use the words, or I've read the words. Are you on purpose or are you by accident?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Same exact concept. And my mom might be watching somewhere, and she's going to yell at me. Is it on accident or is it by accident?
I would
What's
say
the-
by accident.
By accident, on purpose, but by accident.
We got here by accident, or I got here on purpose. I mean, that's grammatically, that sounds okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Anyway,
still working on English, so
Yeah.
I remember they tried to teach me.
17% is not
No,
kicked in
no.
yet.
They tried to they tried to teach me French back in the day when I was in school, and I was like, I don't have the first one down. I don't know why are we adding an next?
what-
You know, like can we
why?
get English first? Like, yeah, it's gonna be a minute.
Well, and maybe now this made us like 17% more likely to question ourselves.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm
17%
kidding. I love this.
more
No.
reflective.
Yeah.
That's just what I need to get
yeah.
more into my head.
To
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
French teacher, I'm coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody, just think about it more. You know? Yeah. Just, yeah. So for 2024, just a final thought on growth. And what would you say to somebody that is wanting to be different than where they are right now, but doesn't know what to do or is scared to know what they should do?
So I would say two things. One would be like fall in love with the journey as much as you fall in love with the result. Like fall in love with learning how to cook as much as you in love being a great cook. Like just fall in love with the journey. I think is huge. The second thing I would say is one of the things that I see a lot of high achievers do that I think actually does more damage than good sometimes is they're listening to 700 podcasts. They're reading 15 books at a time. They're going to 83 different courses, right? So like sometimes it's almost like they go way far the other way, and it's so much that they actually get nothing. So one of the things I'll do with my clients is we'll do like a growth plan or whatever it is, and it's like they'll choose one thing a month or one thing a quarter, and they may read 3 or 4 books, but it's on that one thing. They may go take a course, but it's on like focus in on instead of trying I'm going to get better at everything. It's like, hey, this month I'm going to get better at Excel, right? And they take an Excel class and whatever it is, but like they pick kind of one thing at a time instead of just like a bombardment of massive information you actually don't do anything with. So be more intentional with the actual growth as well.
I love it.
Yeah, I would. I think I would just say focus on the horizon, right? There's so much noise going on in our industry in the moment, in particular, and if you can just tune that out, right? I've always been. If you ever see me on social media, I'm huge on sunsets and sunrises. It's just kind of my focus every day, and it helps center me of that's the goal, that's the horizon, that's where I'm headed. You know, the number one way to not be seasick is to focus on the horizon. It makes everything less bumpy, right? So I kind of coined that into my mindset of just, hey, focus on the horizon and everything gets less bumpy.
Yeah.
So if you can just tune out the noise, the sky's not falling, everything's going to be fine. The tried and true that work hard, do things the right way, focus on clients, focus on relationships and growth, we'll be just fine.
Yeah. I'll say one last thing on that. You know, we talk about I won't open up the can, but we talk about the NAR, all the stuff that's happening, right? And I think the best call that I've heard so far is the one I did last week, which is on
Ironically.
YouTube. Little subtle plug. No, but here's the only thing I would say on that. And I think it goes back to this. There's two kinds of people right now. The people that resist and resent are going to get their teeth kicked in, right? The ones that like, this shouldn't be, and this is bad for this. Like, unless you're going to run for office, like, don't talk about it until 6 o'clock. Like, do your job. Like, that's a 6:30 conversation, right? Like, do your thing, right? So if you resist or resent, that's going to be the biggest thing. That's going to be the enemy that destroys your business the next little while, if that's where your head's at. So you can either resist and resent and oppose, or you can compose. And one of my coaches said that to me a couple months ago. Hey, this is an opportunity to oppose, right, or compose. And I think it's a beautiful time to compose, right? What am I going to do different? What do I need to learn? This is beautiful.
Yeah,
Right on.
Well said.
Pick one or the
Well
other.
said.
All right. With that, we are out.
We good?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was.